Okay, so go ahead and what were you going to say about the alt right and the discussion, I guess, around the label and what defines it?
Well, I think we had thing. Like I say, I started with this like far right stuff in 2011, which I mean, part of it was historical World War II revisionism that really, is what got me into it. I was reading 4chan back then; it was actually new. It was before Poll, and some of that stuff really, resonated with me, and I started reading a lot about it. And so I started a blog, just kind of to write my thoughts about this stuff, and it ended up being, very popular for a blog that had only been around for a few months. And then about a year, I started. I'm coming up on my 5th anniversary here, so I started. I was 28. It's funny to think about. When I started the Daily Stormer, I was 28 years old, in 2013. And at that time, I was really pushing kind of an American nationalist thing. I didn't want to like do swastikas and outright I did talk about how Hitler had a lot of good points. He was right. We never should have went to war with him. This a lot. Most of it, all pretty much all of this stuff that's written about him is a lie. I said all that stuff, but I didn't say like we're gonna be like romper stomper. Okay. At some point, I believe it was in 2015, early 2015, because they kept calling me a white supremacist neo-Nazi. And I was like, look, I've never, a neo-Nazi, I think of like somebody, a skinhead in a black outfit, marching through the streets. And I've never, I'm more of I don't want to say that I'm a hipster. I'm not going to use a word like that, but I'm kind of like an artistic type guy. I'm into
Yeah.
health and fitness. I like reading science fiction novels, and so on. I'm not like a romper stomper marching through the streets. I mean, I shave my head because I have a receding hairline. That was never a political statement to shave my head. So they kept calling me that though. So at one point, this Time, he was a Hebrew gentleman from Time magazine, I think. Time magazine. He got my phone number somehow, which was it was a Google phone number, but it rang on my phone. And I picked it up, and so it's time. He's like, oh, I'm Altman or something from Time magazine. And so I gave him like just troll answers. I mean, anytime I talk to the media, I just say stupid things. But he asked me, "How do you identify?" And I said, "This is the first time I ever said it." I said, "A white supremacist neo-Nazi." So that was like when I came up with this idea that it would be really funny as a form of self-parody to kind of embrace this image of this 1980s, like to ironically embrace the image of this 1980s, like romper stomper neo-Nazism, because everybody that reads the site, I mean, they see the anime pictures and the comics, the memes, all this stuff. They know that that's not actually, and they just see my writing and how I write about things and analyze things. They know that I'm not a romper stomper skinhead, but presenting myself to the media in that way was a beneficial way to fuck with these people and get a bunch of publicity and get a bunch of weird shit published, like that neo-Nazis believe that Taylor Swift is their Aryan goddess and is secretly on board with their agenda. Like, I mean,
That
I got
took
them to
hold
publish.
too. Like that really took hold. Yeah.
Yeah, there were a few real big. I mean, my biggest one was that Mizzou thing where I faked that I was a black guy on the campus and put these pictures that there were the KKK was marching through the campus. That was my biggest troll success. Still got me kicked off Twitter. That was sometime in 2015. But yeah, no, it was a way to really fuck with the media, and also it was a fun thing, a self-parody thing of this is like that they say that anybody who has these ideas is this trailer park person that's inbred and they march around and they just in these costumes and they sig heil and all this stuff, and this neo-Nazi thing. And so it was funny as a self-parody to do that. And I think some people didn't get it. Newer people coming in, maybe a certain type of individual who maybe, has some type of an autistic thing going on.
Some
Maybe
people just
did
don't
not
understand satire, do they?
Yeah, I think that was the thing. And it was also it's kind of subtle, because I do really believe this stuff as far as, the right-wing stuff, but the self-parody was making it extreme and reflecting what they were what the media was projecting on, reflecting it back at them, was disarming, and I think hilarious and fun. And I think that younger people, teenagers, I say kids, I mean teenagers, high schoolers, picked up on it naturally and understood it. But there were a group of people who maybe didn't. And then the whole thing, I don't want to insult the guy. He's got enough problems. I'm not trying to like talk shit about him, but Matt Heimbach did this thing where it was
did you call him a Satanist just earlier in this stream, or imply that he might be?
Yeah, I might have done that. I can't remember. We've been on here for a while. I can't remember that far back. All right. But so the guy's got a lot of problems, but he he did this thing unironically, like as a literal, and I didn't know that anybody was going to do this. I didn't foresee that would happen, and that then people would retcon me as that I was serious, that I was the one that did it, that I invented it, that they would retcon this when I had my site for 2 years and had been blogging for 2 years before that, when I never did this. I always was against it. And I wrote articles about, well, of course we're not going to march through the streets in these costumes. Are you insane? This is the cringiest shit I've ever heard of. Nobody wants to do that. We're normal people. We just figured out some information that is affecting our lives. Then we want to change society because of it. So, I never wanted to be involved in romper stomper skinhead black jackboot marches. This was never my thing. And that these people tried to retcon me into that because I had done the self-parody thing involving that, which just gets into like a kind of a complicated situation. And basically, this became after Charlottesville. Charlottesville was a disaster. It had to happen because everybody was thinking like, well, we can just go out there and we can show people there's a lot of us and we'll give some speeches, we'll have whatever, which, and we walked into a complete, I wasn't there. I was in Nigeria before they shipped me this base on Guam. But I was not personally there, but everybody I know was there. All my guys were there, and this was a trap. We were led into a serious trap, and this created a backlash, which we're still dealing with. I mean, that's why everything got shut down. That's why all these other things happened. A lot of negative results came from this. I believe it had to happen because there was I guess somebody should have predicted it.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, it wasn't the greatest.
I have a question. There's recent news out that there's actually going to be a second Unite the Right rally. It's not actually going to be in Charlottesville. It's going to be in Washington, D.C. And what are your thoughts on that?
I am 100% opposed to that. I don't think that anybody should go to that. I do not think that there is any benefit, because I don't really even understand the purpose, and nobody's explaining it to me of what these marches are supposed to do. What is a protest march supposed to do? I mean, if you can get hundreds of thousands or millions of people, yeah, I understand the point of marching through the streets. If you've got a few hundred people, what are you doing? What's going on?
Right, we have some breaking news. Godspeed Love in the chat said the second Unite the Right rally is being organized by Sargon and the Liberalists. So that's breaking news.
That makes sense.
They're taking over UKIP and the alt-right. Yes. That's a good move. They're going to control everything.
Daddy.
They've got a lot of irons in the fire, so to speak. Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I tend to agree with what you're saying. If there's like a point
Maybe
behind
MLK
it,
was wrong.
oh God, Sargon. If there's a point behind it, or something more thought out, if it's just to like I don't know, get together and start some shit, it didn't really.
Well, the point of Charlottesville was to show, to go out there and show numbers.
Well, I mean, it was about
nominally.
Yeah, it was about the statues, right?
But I mean, it was also to say, we're real people. We can go out in public and have a speech. And I mean, it was just going to be like an event where people come and watch speakers, and they just go up on the stage and give little speeches, and then everybody, shakes hands, and then the thing is over, and it's a thing that's in the media, and it kind of brings attention and so on. That made sense, but then it turned into this street war where this kid crashed his car, and so the stuff after this, because you had normal people involved in Charlottesville, a lot of normal good guys. I mean, not that even Heimbach's people are bad guys. I'm not trying to say they're like bad guys, but you had a lot of normal people who were wearing, normal clothes and so on, that were there and were presenting an image of just normal people that were not like street fighting neo-Nazis. Those people are gone now. They're not going to any more of these events because of the fallout from Charlottesville. So what happened then was that Heimbach and some other people in these legit, unironic neo-Nazi romper stomper type groups began staging these rallies themselves, and it just became that was then the alt-right. And I mean, that's a hard thing to recover from. And the sort of like the last gasp was when Richard Spencer decided to bring Matthew Heimbach to a co-event together at Michigan, and there was this little mini riot, the street fight thing, and then Richard looking very tired speaking to like 15 people, and it's like, okay, we need to do something different here. This is not ever going to go anywhere. And my whole thing was that the alt-right always should have been a social movement, a cultural movement, something that was meant to influence the society through cultural means, rather than some kind of protesting movement or a street fighting movement. But at this point, the alt-right is so associated with that type of thing that it's kind of like, I mean, I still use the term, but it is kind of has very little positive now connected to it. Whereas it was edgy and cool and this hip thing on the internet, and they got this frog cartoon and they're making edgy jokes and they don't give a fuck. This was cool during the
saying they lost some of the coolness factor with all this.
Yeah, some or most or potentially all.
Dude, shout Pepe at the frickin' Democrat presidential candidate.
Yeah. There's a lot of fun stuff, and when that fun's gone, I think that you're not going to really have any effect on changing the.
It's hard to recapture the magic once it's gone. Speaking of magic, we talked about it earlier, but.
Yeah, but what my thing is people are like telling me like, oh, I'm so black-pilled because we're not out in the streets. But my numbers are growing, TRS numbers are growing. We got shows like yours. We got a lot of different stuff that's popular. People are into it. The ideas themselves, that if you look at the alt-right as a movement that was designed to project these ideas into the mainstream of society, then it was 100% successful. These ideas are out there. They're not going away. This is part of the discussion now. And there's no going back from that. We are in that now. That is a part of the culture. And so the alt-right as a cultural movement to inject ideas into the society was 100% successful. Okay. So and that's where we are now. Like the thing with Sargon, you can't have a discussion anymore on the internet without having to address the ideas that were brought into the culture, the discussion by the alt-right. So in that sense, it was incredibly successful, and we're still on that success. I mean, all of these basic premises are now taken for granted on any internet subculture. I mean, nobody is going out there trying to say, genetics don't exist, and this type of thing that they teach at universities. You can't get away with it, and they can't have comment sections anymore on any mainstream site. And the thing is, once a person changes their mind, they don't change it back. They're stuck in that. Okay, once you know these things, you can't unknow them. The Matrix analogy works there. So in my view, the alt-right was very successful in accomplishing that goal. I think that we are transforming now into something different, and it's not exactly clear, what direction. Well, I mean, it's clear to me. For a lot of people, it's not clear. I want to just keep pressing the culture. I mean, I just want to keep pressing forward with making as many people aware of these ideas as is possible, because again, once you know, you cannot unknow. And if you're just, you don't have to be like involved. You don't have to be marching through the street. Once you've absorbed this information, you're for the rest of your life, you're going to know that, and you're going to behave in such a way with voting patterns and just the way you interact with people based on that knowledge for the rest of your life. So, and there's no going back. So that is the goal, in my opinion, is to maximize this awareness among the people, and we are doing that very, very successfully.
Now, let me ask you, do you think it's beneficial to just drop the term alt-right altogether, or to just kind of still coalesce around the same ideas, same communities, and just either rebrand or just not use the term anymore?
I think that the term is very damaged. I mean, it kind of just, you have to see how that shakes out. The media is going to keep using it either way. So we talked
about earlier how they're calling Sargon alt-right. They're calling the Count Dankula alt-right and Paul Joseph Watson. So
yeah, and that makes it lose meaning as well. That's just like calling everybody a Nazi. The term no longer has any meaning. I think that at this point we can just say that we're the right. I mean, the Trump phenomenon has injected so much racial identity issues into the public discourse that, I mean, most Trump people, you can just talk about most of this stuff openly. I mean, the Hebrew issue is still sensitive to people, but I mean, they kind of pushed it so far with the trannies and the Somalian immigrants and the crying children and the beach boy, this type of stuff. I mean, people are just fed up, and that we are in some sense very close to the mainstream of the right wing in the United States. I mean, you can really just say, I'm right wing. I support Trump's campaign. I don't support everything he's done as president, but I support his platform as that he ran on, and that's kind of my political orientation. I'm also concerned about this thing with these Hebrew people who seem to be in control of everything. There's not really that big of a gap between where the alt-right is and where the average American Trump supporter is.
During the 2016 election, I mean, there's a reason they, say Paul Joseph Watson and Sargon, these people are alt-right. I mean, a lot of these people took a lot of their editorial direction from alt-right forums and from alt-right talking points, and then some of them even explicitly claimed to be alt-right at certain points. But then once the media kind of made it into a toxic term, and Richard Spencer got more prominence there in the fall, all of a sudden it's like, nah, I'm not alt-right, fuck that, I want to distance myself. And then of course you still get called alt-right anyway. So
well, they all use that term. I mean, all of them use the term alt-right. Yes. Cernovich and Paul Joseph Watson, they all did. And then what they did was piggyback onto the energy that was created by mostly people who were going to be considered, racist type people that were doing the stuff on Twitter and so on. And, a lot of the memes that came from, the darkest corners of 4chan and so on, they piggybacked onto that popularity, but then they didn't want to go full on. How much of that is financial? How much of it is I mean, probably the majority of it is financial because they see what happens. Who was it? Oh, it was when Baked Alaska came out against Cernovich, that Cernovich was sending messages. I think it was after the election, and he was sending messages out to everybody that to search through their Twitter feed and delete the word Jew anytime it comes up that they had ever posted that word, to delete any reference to that from their Twitter feed. And I mean, I don't think
I even
cares.
have to delete my Holocaust Remembrance Day tweets and all that. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
I do remember that. What about Baked Alaska, by the way? Since you brought him up, you were on. I don't know if you gentleman that sounds like you were on there talking to Sargon. What about? I mean, he's kind of had a downward trajectory since then. Did you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I don't. I mean, I don't
not to pile on a guy. Obviously, we've had our issues. With
I mean, I think that he's had some problems. He's always been very nice to me and all the interactions that I've had with him. So I mean, I don't want to. I think he's had enough, problems that I don't really have anything to add to that.
Yeah, I understand. I didn't mean to ask you to pile on. Okay, here's
no. I mean, it's a fine question, but I mean,
All right. Streamlabs, this guy said, "Hello, Andrew. Saw Patrick Little on a stream a few days ago saying choice words about you and Weave. Any insight into this?" I think he did talk about that a little bit earlier. "Do you watch Frame Games on JF's stream? He pointed out after the 1964 Civil Rights Act that Hebrew interests, I guess we'll say, actively went around suing companies." And that's from Problematic White Knight.
Yeah, Patrick Little. I honestly, I just don't know anything about the guy. People tell me that he's like attacking me and this type of stuff. I do not know anything about this individual, or really, I mean, from what I've heard, I don't really care to know anything more than I know. So that's my thing on that. As far as Frame Game, I don't know. Somebody said that he's Jewish.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. Yes.
I didn't know that. I've listened to some of his stuff, and I really do like his stuff. I mean, as far as just because it's kind of like, you can say the same thing about Stefan Molyneux, where it's just like information packed, like an information overload of these videos. I haven't watched Molyneux in a while, but he used to do these, the truth about, and these types of videos that he did, where it was just like these PowerPoint presentations, which was just so condensed in terms of just facts, point by point, the facts of the situation, that were very helpful. I mean, whatever you think of either of those two people, they're very good at presenting a whole bunch of information at once. As far as the thing about people suing, I mean, they're always suing. I'm getting sued all the fucking time. I mean, there is what these people sue you. This is their bit.
Yeah. I mean, in the U.S., we sue people. That's what we do here.
That works.
And even if you're not in the U.S., I'll try to figure out a way to sue you if you have residency or citizenship here. Let's see a couple more super chats. Black Budget Cyclotron says there is a real divide in the right between idealists and nihilists, post-libertarians like most alt-right versus traditionalists. What do you think about that comment?
Yeah, I mean, I think there has to be some kind of synthesis. I mean, there has to be some kind of like overarching, some kind of idea, some kind of focal point of an idea that sort of drives everything. And I don't think that we've really developed that right yet. I mean, I think that's the problem with the alt-right, which was still, as I've said, the difference between a critique and, promoting something. The alt-right was basically a critique. It was a reactionary thing. I mean, it still exists. Not trying to say the alt-right is dead or anything like that, but it has mainly been a critique of these problems that we are dealing with. So at some point there has to be a unifying idea that brings people together under a single under a single banner of something that we want to create, we want our society to be. And as far as traditionalism, I mean nihilism, we definitely don't want that. Traditionalism doesn't seem to be working. I think that as a goal, some form of, you know, at least in terms of sexual relations, gender relations, we definitely want something like that, unless we do the tube babies or the Asian the Asian mail order eggs thing, I guess. But that'd still be pretty trad, maybe. But yeah, I mean, we need an idea. There has to be some kind of driving idea that goes beyond white nationalism. That's just not enough to say, well, we're white people and we just want to be left alone. I mean, that can't get everybody cannot get behind. There has to be something deeper than that to motivate people. And you know, I mean, everybody. I think that all white people do just want to be left alone. I think that is the thing, but it's not a strong enough motivator, especially when they can just keep running. You know, but they can't keep running. The ones with money can keep running. This white flight thing, they can keep doing that. They can keep insulating themselves until it's too late. So there has to be a stronger driving idea. And I don't know exactly what that is going to be. Well, I do know, but it would be pretentious for me to present it.